I'm Whitney Tilson. I hope you enjoy this video. If you'd like to learn more about Kase Learning and our programs, just go to kaselearning.com. And if you have any questions, just email me at info@kaselearning.com. The class here and listen to the SEC little meeting there, and we're having a raging debate about where it opens tomorrow and how it plays out, and what's likely to happen. And I was like, I wonder what Mark thinks of this. He's having a good afternoon. Let's call him up. So,
well, I mean, look, right now it's down $35, right? It's 272.
Yeah.
I mean, look, tomorrow's the end of the quarter, and
That's
the
right.
big ownerships are mutual funds. I mean, does a mutual fund risk? I don't know how a mutual fund risk committee, would let those guys own this, in the first place. I mean, certainly after that the original pedo tweet. But isn't this something they want to get off the books before the end of the quarter at this point? I don't know. So, I mean, this could be one of those surprising times when it doesn't bounce, and in fact, the reaction during the market tomorrow could be a lot worse even than it is now. It could be down another $30 tomorrow. For any normal stock, especially with the charismatic CEO being the whole company, which it is in this case, because there's certainly no financials there, would have dropped 50% on this. So, as you know, Whitney, Tesla is an anomaly none of us have ever seen before in a large cap stock, and we may never see it again. I hope we never see it again.
Yeah. I mean, look, I've been comparing this a bit to Valiant, though Valiant, at least to this day, Valiant has never had a quarter of negative operating cash flow, right? So Valiant in many ways was better positioned, had more debt, but had real cash flows. But I've said, after that conference call a couple months ago where he went off the rails, I said the odds that Tesla goes the way of Valiant, the ultimate cult stock, the ultimate cult CEO, the ultimate bull bear debate, that went down by 97%. The odds went from 10% to 25%. I think the odds just went to 50%, right? I mean, you could easily see this thing spiral down.
Yeah. Well, by the way, Musk just issued a statement, quote, "This unjustified action by the SEC leaves me deeply saddened and disappointed."
So he thinks he's going to fight it, but there's no way the board can stand by him.
Saddened and disappointed, screw him. Yeah. So, I mean, the difficulty on this, of course, is there's a very, very high short interest. So, as you know, and is this a short selling seminar you're doing or something more general?
Well, it's interesting. It's a group that's been with me, been with Glenn and me this is the 4th of 5 days. Tomorrow actually is the day that we're going to really focus on short selling, but we've been covering everything. So it fits in nicely with the whole week. Right.
So, so that puts a floor under a stock because, everybody who's short this is going to cover it at different level. They're not all waiting for it to go to zero or near zero. So one interesting difference between this, and actually this was reiterated to me by smart guy earlier today. I mean, Enron, people saw these problems, but Enron had a very small short interest right to the very end. So it made it a lot easier for it to go down. High shortage. This is the first thing I've ever shorted that had a massive short interest. To me, it was just so obvious, and it just checked every box that I'm like, screw it, I'm going to do it. Normally, if more than, maybe 15% of the float is short, I don't care what the company looks like. I'm like, not going to touch it. So, by the way, here's the full statement from Musk. It just came in. "This unjustified action by the SEC leaves me deeply saddened and disappointed. I've always taken action in the best interests of truth, transparency, and investors." Yeah, that's why he fucked them over. Anyone who bought on that tweet.
That's funnier than Trump's quote yesterday to the UN.
Right. Integrity is the most important value in my life. And what does that say about his other values? "And the facts will show I never compromised this in any way." Yeah, we've got the facts, dude. You're done. So, yeah.
So interesting. So, Mark, if you were not short this, would you short it tomorrow down 10% if it opens down 10%?
I would hate to short Tesla in the hole, meaning like, it's going to be somewhat in the hole because it's not going to be green tomorrow. I would short it, actually. I'd short it on some kind of a bounce off of here. I mean, give me a second here. Let me pull up a chart.
Because I think it may well open the day down 20% tomorrow as people digest this.
It could, and I wouldn't short it. I wouldn't short anything down 20%. I guess, I don't know. Maybe I would look for it to bounce to, like, well, that would be a big bounce, but maybe like the low 290s. I mean, that's like the 20-day moving average or something. I don't know. I would look for something. I would short it, but I would look for some kind of an intraday bounce, But again, if you're holding it to $20, I guess it doesn't matter. If you short it tomorrow and it pops 15 on you on the way to 20 or 10 or 5 or 0, in the long run, it's not going to matter. It depends what your pain tolerance is.
Right.
Obviously mine is incredibly high. I'm still alive.
One of my students asked, has the company made any announcement in response yet?
It's a good question. Let's see.
I would assume not. It's going to take them a little while to digest this, and right now the board is having an emergency meeting about whether to fire Musk right now or whether to join him in fighting this or something in between.
Well, the funny thing is that whole board, I would imagine, are parties to this, to the massive lawsuits, which have already been filed, and now which this will justify, because they let this story sit out there for what, like 17 days or whatever? I mean, from whenever he did that tweet until that Friday night at 11 p.m. Press release when they finally admitted there was no deal. I mean, look, I'm the lawyer, but I understand that the board is liable for this too. And the board, if you read the 10K, may not have adequate D&O insurance because apparently they cut that back. So, and by the way, nobody deserves it more than this board. I have absolutely no sympathy for them. The first thing they did was put out a press release like the next day, right, that like retroactively tried to justify Musk's actions. And they waited and waited and waited. Nobody halted the stock. Nobody did anything. So, a lot of people should go down on this thing, but look, this might not kill it. I don't know. What I think is, I've said this many times. This is a sideshow, okay? Musk is a sideshow. It's a really bad business. The Model 3, the backlog is almost gone. People like the car in nice sunny weather. Wait till they're trying to drive that thing, out of Southern California at night in the rain, in the snow, with that touchscreen, with the leaks, but it's a total lemon. And I can already see on Twitter, like it's overwhelming their service centers already, and they're probably going to deliver 10 or 12,000 of them this week. I think they're slightly going to miss the guidance, which was 50 to 55. I could be wrong. My guess is 48,000. But they don't have enough service centers to handle a car that's not a lemon, much less, that thing, it's a disaster. There's data out there. It's like 4 times worse than the next least reliable car on the market. It's unbelievable. So this is a sideshow. It's, maybe it's the catalyst that accelerates the demise of this company. But maybe not. Maybe Musk comes back as a non-officer. They make him the chief visionary, and all these idiots who own this go, oh, now Elon can do what he can do best. He can be the visionary and let somebody else handle, the business side of it. Yeah, good luck with him not interfering and micromanaging you. No decent person is going to come in and run this company with him having anything to do with it at all. So we'll see.
Yeah, look, this, what this reminds me of, it reminds me of the day Andrew Left broke the Philidor story publicly on Valiant, and the stock went from like 150 to 110 that day. And, a lot of people are like, okay, now's the time. It turns out the best time to short Valiant when the end game was clear, obviously with the benefit of 2020 hindsight, but when these story stocks break by 50%, now everyone's starting to run, the Momo guys are piling out, and now you start thinking about the fundamentals. At what price do value guys come into this? And the answer is value guys don't come in until it's down 90%, hoping for a buyout or something. Yeah. So, I think, I'm not certain, but I think there's a 50-50 chance actually that we will look back on today down 10%. In the same way, Valiant, it turns out, underreacted. It still had it went down by more than 90% after it had fallen in half and had a down 40% day,
Yeah, well, and the flip side of that is Enron on the way to zero had some 35% rallies,
Yeah.
So crazy stuff happens, but no, Yeah, I mean, if you're patient, this thing's going well. You know who's been great on this is Gabe Hoffman, Accipiter Capital. Do you know Gabe? He was on
No.
CNBC again today, and he basically said no investment bank anywhere is now going to raise money for this company because, and if nothing else, then because of the liability of the billions of dollars of civil lawsuits, based on that 420 tweet. And of course, the other thing is the SEC had an investigation going on before this, right? And there's another lawyer, a guy on Twitter, Meisner, who's been the lawyer for a couple of the known whistleblowers, who said he thinks the SEC investigation goes a lot deeper than this. Like, this is the tip of the iceberg because they were working on things before. So, there's probably a lot more to it. And, they're not going to get the financing they need. And, if you're going to buy a new Tesla a few years from now, it'll be from a restructured company would be my guess. I mean, there's, over 10 billion of debt here. And I think the equity gets wiped out. Maybe somebody comes in at $10 on the equity, takes a shot,
What kind of odds would you put on a Tesla bankruptcy filing? I don't know, the next year or something like that,
Very, very, very high. Well, let me rephrase
high 20% or high 80%?
Well, high 80%. Well, let me rephrase it. A Tesla stock, someone coming into this company, I don't think at more than $30 a share, and probably $10 a share is extremely unlikely. So I don't know if, let me put this, I'd say it's 90% that this stock trades under $100 within the next year, because the whole thing is Musk, and so, yeah, but I don't know what people would do between 100 and 0. I think in a logical world, they would do nothing until 0, and then maybe they do something, but and look, and here's the other crazy thing, because this stock is so crazy. It's conceivable that some strategic investor could come in here and put, the company needs $5 billion basically to clean itself up and execute a growth plan. Some strategic investor could come in here and put $5 billion in it at $15 a share, and the stock could trade to 200, because people would be like, oh, the problems are solved, and this great strategic investor came in. I mean, it's trades in with zero regard to valuation. Maybe that would happen then too. I mean, Andrew Left once asked me, we were talking about Tesla, speaking of Left, and he said, he's once said, Mark, is this at the point where 220 is the same as 320, is the same as 420, is the same as 520? I mean, so who knows what the hell would happen? I suspect that wouldn't happen, but if a strategic did come in at, let's say, I don't know, $15, $20 a share, that stock would all be locked up. It wouldn't be in the float. It would be a strategic investor. Probably wouldn't even be registered stock. So who knows what I'm saying is, if you're short this, don't be a total pig and hold out, for 0. Like, like my plan now is probably to take, if we get there, knock on wood, I'll take most of it off at, I don't know, if we get there at, 30, 35 or whatever, and hold some for the stub to 0.
You don't want to be a total pig. You just want down 90 before you start to go.
Hey man, I've been short this for 4.5 years. I deserve it. That would only be down, that would only be down like what, like 18% a year or something, whatever. So
I hope you have, do you still have most of your position in options, not just the stock?
It's both. I mean, I cut the common stock position, but it's still significant. And we're long June 2020 puts, a lot of those. And the reason I went to 2020 is because it's in 2019 that all the really good competitors roll out into the showroom. So sort of my plan B on this has always been, plan A is fast bankruptcy, Musk goes crazy, they run out of money, whatever. Plan B is just busted growth story. So, by 2020, people will see, at least no later than early 2020, this is a busted growth story. But then I'm also short common stock. And then I have a lot of really cheap sort of October and December and January puts in case it just death spirals in the next 3 months, which has always been possible,
Are you generally sort of at or near the money puts, or are you way out of the money?
No, the 2020 puts are struck at 200. So they're pretty far out of the money, but they'll be fine if this is like maybe a $30 stock or a $20 stock. Then if it's not as, am I being greedy? if it's not a 0 before that, and the other ones are actually the short-term ones are further out of the money, because those are sort of the death spiral bankruptcy puts, and those are like, I've got like 150s. I think I've got 150s and 100s. I think is what I've got there. So I've got an assortment, but I don't have a lot of money in those. They're just really cheap. Anywhere from like 15 cents to $2. I don't know. I got a whole spread of them here. So, yeah. But the big one is just short common, and a big position in the 2020 200 strike puts, June 2020.
Yeah.
And by the way, so the other thing I've done in the last week, I actually sold some January 2021 440 calls. I got like $51 for them for 440 calls. And in a way, ironically,
I would have guessed $5.
Right, exactly. It's unheard of. I mean, one of my LPs is a brilliant sort of quantitative options trader, and he's been doing that too on a different strike, because he's never seen anything like that in his career. And ironically, that's almost a hedge if the 420 deal came back, because if the 420 deal comes back, the 440s expire worthless, So
you sure you didn't accidentally sell calls on Tilray?
What is that? I haven't even looked at that one lately. That was, listen, this whole nutty market is going to come to an end as interest rates crank higher and higher. I mean, I know you're a big Buffett fan, and the tide is going out for sure. I mean, you can get real returns other than, there are a lot of alternatives, right? It's not Tina anymore. And so the Tilrays of the world will, but that said, even in a bear market, there's always some garbage stock, right? That people flock to looking for action. I remember really in the 2000 crash, if you remember, Krispy Kreme donuts. Remember that? It was like a 10x or something in the middle of like the worst market ever. So people always do find something. So they'll find a new Tilray, even if it's a bear market, but there'll be a lot fewer of them, and they won't be mega caps like Tesla, which is completely dependent on free money in order to even be in existence for this long,
Yeah. All right. Well, congratulations. I'm sure CNBC and everybody else is lining up. I hope you're working on a creative.
I think I'm banned from CNBC because I've called them a bunch of stock pumping idiots too many times on Twitter. So I'll wind up on a fake network like Cheddar or something. Anyway.
All right. Good talking to you. Thanks for taking the time.
Likewise. Take care. Good luck, guys. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye. I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, if you'd like to learn more about Kase Learning and our programs, just go to kaselearning.com. And if you have any questions, email me at info@kaselearning.com. Thank you.